with the private sector in particular. And I am just delighted when I look back over the last years at the progress that we've made together. I think it's important for us to appreciate what we've done together, how far we've come. We kind of need to step back and remember where we once were. As I was a young man transitioning out of the United States Air Force into the private sector in the mid-1970s, the Department of Energy was just opening its doors in 1977. It was 4 decades ago. America was producing way too little energy at home. We were importing way too much from other places around the world, and in some cases, places that weren't particularly friendly to the United States and our values. And as a result, some of you in here are old enough to remember gas lines and the things that we saw out there. Gas lines were up and unemployment was up. At that time, the conventional wisdom from Washington was pretty clear. Americans were told that the age of abundance and affordability were over. We were told that we could no longer produce enough energy. We could not sustain the way of life we had had in the past. We were told that even if we could sustain that, it would do irreparable harm to our environment. And so they were told to trim their sails, tighten their belts, buy a sweater, downsize your dreams, and let government regulate this scarce supply. But in their short-sighted deliberations, they forgot something that was blindingly obvious. They forgot about our country's history of expanding supply, of changing entire economic landscapes, of doing it through this phenomenal power that we call innovation. They forgot how only 30 years before this period in our history, we had split the atom. 20 years after that, we had put a man into space, and 9 years after that, an American walked on the surface of the moon. But I'm proud to say there were plenty of Americans who didn't forget that. And while Washington continued to work against them, something refreshingly different was happening in many of our states and in the private sector. In places like my home state of Texas, taxes were being reduced and regulations were being reined in. We were providing both the incentive and the freedom to innovate. And with innovation came a revolution in technology. The major breakthroughs in hydraulic fracturing and directional drilling happened to have begun in my home state. And at DOE, in our national labs, research and development not only made this technology possible, but a substantial amount of other technologies as well. And today, President Trump has brought to Washington a commitment to rein in regulation, put innovation squarely in the driver's seat of our economic and energy policy. He signed off on new pipelines, removed these draconian restrictions on responsible oil and gas exploration. And let me stress just how proud I am of DOE's efforts to revive and revitalize nuclear energy. John, we were just talking about a conversation that I had literally on an airplane coming back to D.C. yesterday with a young man and a young lady who I sat in the aisle with. We were talking about this, the millennials and how they are looking at taking care of the environment and how you square being able to support the nuclear energy industry and the work that I've seen that DOE is doing to promote renewables, the work that we're doing on battery storage and energy efficiency. The president's pushed through tax as well as regulatory reform. I happen to think, and there's good evidence to back this up, that he's revived America's sense of purpose and opportunity. And so manufacturing is booming. Jobs are on their way on an upward trajectory. Wages are soaring. Opportunities just kind of bursting out all over. And America's in the midst of a truly historic energy revolution. Fossil fuels to renewables, supply has risen, costs have fallen, efficiencies are being seen to increase, and energy diversity is expanding. The United States is now producing its energy more abundantly, more affordably, more cleanly, more efficiently, and I might add from a wider range of sources than anyone ever predicted just a few years ago. I remind people, I said, 15 years ago they told us we'd found it all. There wasn't any more energy to be produced. Conventional wisdom said. Conventional wisdom was radically wrong. Today we are the world's second biggest generator of wind and solar energy. We are number one in producing oil, producing more of it than Saudi Arabia. We're number one in the world in producing gas, producing more of it than Russia. Today, the world's seeking our energy leadership and innovation, and we're providing it. We are now sharing our energy bounty with the world, and by doing so, we're changing the world. In the blink of an eye, we've become a net exporter of natural gas, exporting our LNG to 36 countries, spanning 5 continents. By next year, we'll become a net energy exporter as well. And we are poised to export the technology that unleashed our bounty in the first place. From oil and gas to nuclear technology. No matter which resource of technology we offer, we are paving the way towards liberating our democratic friends and allies from dependence on dictatorial nations that wield their power as a geopolitical weapon. We'll help our friends increase their energy security. We'll strengthen their economic security. We'll bolster their national security. Now, granted, it's not going to happen overnight. As everyone in this room knows, our businesses face blatantly unfair competition from the Kremlin and from China, which are engaged in efforts to make entire continents economically dependent and politically subservient to their ways and their will. But despite these challenges, I believe that if Washington does its job right, we can and we will meet this challenge together. But there's another challenge that we face today. And we stand at this critical crossroads with one road leading to an unprecedented new wave of innovation, the other leading to a catastrophic return to over-regulation. The first road is being paved by an already emerging revolution in artificial intelligence. Through AI, our Department of Energy and its national labs are on a path to revolutionizing every part of the energy landscape, from exploration to development to delivery. And to that end, I'm pleased to announce today, Marty, we are going to make a little news, that DOE is committing $20 million for projects through its ARPA-E program to drive early-stage innovation in AI and machine learning. And then there's the other road, in the name of clean energy. Some are proposing to regulate every source besides renewables completely out of existence. The irony is that through innovation, we are already making our energy cleaner. We're producing those zero-emission renewables and more low-emission natural gas than ever before. We're making our coal cleaner than it's ever been. We've driven down mercury and other emissions to historically low levels. And we'll make greater reductions through carbon capture utilization and storage technologies. And as we revitalize these zero emissions nuclear energy projects that we have through advanced reactor technologies, we're going to drive down emissions in our energy mix even further. And that's precisely why the same country that leads the world in oil and gas production leads all nations, including every signatory of the Paris Accord, in reducing energy-related emissions. That's right. The United States leads all countries in the reduction of those energy-related emissions. And you who are in the private sector are a big reason for that. You're a big reason for that progress. You're the reason that from 2005 through 2018, while our GDP rose significantly, America's total greenhouse gas emissions fell dramatically, with the reduction especially strong in the power sector. You're the reason Americans now benefit from some of the lowest electricity rates in the world. They're about half of what our friends in the EU pay, and about 1/3 of what our friends in Germany pay. You're the reason that energy-related carbon emissions fell at an even greater pace. And you're the reason we're doing it all without sacrificing one fuel, one bit of growth, one iota of opportunity. For those who would abandon the spirit of innovation, ban all fuels besides renewables. Here's some tough questions for you. What will you say to the unemployed Americans from the Appalachian region who are about to find well-paying jobs in our LNG export boom and a petrochemical industry that's making a remarkable comeback? Thanks to lower energy costs from that same shale revolution, the President's Council of Economic Advisors recent report notes that U.S. customers now save more than $203 billion a year, $2,500 every year for a family of four. What are you going to say to those consumers? Thanks to that same revolution, the CEA report notes that from 2005 to 2017, U.S. energy-related greenhouse gas emissions were lowered by 9%. How do they square their support for the environment with advocating a ban on fuels that are making it cleaner? The world's two most reliable 24/7 fuels are nuclear and coal, both of which they want us to ban. What will they say to the world's poorest people? Those who don't even have a light bulb, who've never had one iota of light artificially brought into their villages. What do you say to those world's poorest people when those same fuels could bring them reliable, life-saving, life-changing electricity for the first time ever? So as we approach this crossroads, it's certainly my hope that our country chooses wisely. It's my hope that we choose the proven path, the path that ignites prosperity, that ignites and liberates the innovation in nations and empowers people everywhere. It's my hope that we choose the path of innovation, just like Americans always have. the surest path to a more abundant, affordable, clean energy future for America and for the world. Thank you.